Oh, where's Jason? I'll tell you where he is. I have a story related to where Jason is, and it's me. So about 5 minutes ago, I was told that Jason couldn't make it, had an emergency, had a veterinary emergency. My sister is a veterinarian, and, I grew up on a farm, so I get it. There's emergencies. Although this emergency has to do with a rabbit. Again, we'll get into it. So I'm here. So there's a bat phone. There's multiple cell phones. I think we have this cell phone. This is the one. See, we've got a cell phone. We've got multiple cell phones. This is the bat phone. So the bat phone was called. The bat phone I always pick up. The bat phone was called. Can't make it. Someone else needs to take over Wake and take, and so it's me for a few minutes. We're going to do the best I can. I have other stuff that's supposed to be. This was a big week for us. We're launching DFS. We launched it. It has been launched. So it's a big week, and we'll get into that. We'll get into what's happening with Fast Draft. A draft just went off. Draft just went off with Fast Draft, and Devon Achane was the first pick again. So it's been rotating back and forth between Achane, Chase, and McCaffrey, the first pick in these Fast Draft DFS games. FastDraft.app, check it out. We saw Gibbs go at the 105, which was interesting. So it went Achane, Chase, McCaffrey, Kamara, Gibbs, St. Brown, Jefferson, then Bijan. Bijan fell all the way to number 8, 108, to Fantasy Picasso. And then Big Boned took Chase Brown. Chase Brown again. Chase Brown has been a top 10 pick almost every time. Went ahead of Kyron Williams. Good for him. And then the best value play, we always need to track where the best value. Oh, my God. A1 Damasta was able to get George Pickens, the wide receiver 1 this week, went at the 17th pick. He went after DeAndre Swift, after Breece Hall, after Garrett Wilson, after Tyreek Hill. So I don't agree with that. I think this is it. This is Steelers Ravens, man. This is stacking Russell Wilson and George Pickens. You don't need to overthink this. This is not the overthinking. There's not another receiver that they like to throw to. This is it. And Jamar Chase just put up 55 points. It doesn't need to be hard. Let's go to George Pickens' player page. I want to check out George Pickens' player page on PlayerProfiler because we have the projected ownership from Roto-Grinders. And is it posted yet is the big question. Is the projected ownership posted yet? It is not. So we'll check on that. We'll check on the project. I don't know. Usually it comes out later today. So we'll check on the projected ownership from Roto-Grinders. I'm guessing it's going to be high. I'm guessing he's the guy. Who else are you playing this week in DFS in every format? Why would you not play him? He has incredible upside. I'm talking about slate-breaking upside. He has the number 1 explosiveness rating on PlayerProfiler.com. Look at this. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Everyone, look at this. Explosive play rating is a comprehensive rating of a player's explosiveness, factoring in per play efficiency, total volume of explosive plays created. So when you look at what's his target rate, what's his target share, and then what is the explosive plays that he's delivering, and it's number 1 in the league. So I don't know what else you want, right? Joe Burrow is going to push a shootout. Doesn't matter who the defense is. Joe Burrow is going to push the Steelers into a shootout, and it's going to have to be Pickens. I don't understand why this is. I can't believe this is a hot take. This wasn't something I put in the bold prediction show. The bold prediction show, the video that we post every week now, it has like 100 comments. So it's something's going on. People are engaging with that video heavily. But I didn't even put it in that video. I put it in the other video. I put it in my, best strategy for this week. And my strategy for this week is heavily relying on stacking. This is the big stack week. This is the stack week of all. This is the week to stack. So Russell Wilson, George Pickens, but it wasn't hot at all. Like George Pickens, wide receiver 1, like duh. Doesn't have to be hard. So Jason, calls the bat phone, says, I have a veterinary emergency and I have to go. He has a rabbit, and it just waves of memories. Have you ever had this happen where an event or a comment occurs and then it's like a crack in a dam opens up and then just floods you with memories? Because we do a good job compartmentalizing and, putting things in boxes in our brains, and you don't think about it. Things that were traumatic, you don't think about it. You don't think about it for days, weeks, months, and then some trigger happens, trigger warning, right? And I'm triggered, and I'm like, oh my God. Oh, wow. Flooding back the memories. So it was Super Bowl Sunday. The Patriots were playing. It was Tom Brady's last Super Bowl. And I was sitting down and had everything ready. I was just going to have a nice, quiet Super Bowl at home. Whenever the Patriots are in the Super Bowl, I like to be at home for those Super Bowls. I remember the one I remember most was when I was at home when they beat the Seahawks on the great interception in the end zone. That I was on my knees. I was on my knees, and I had inched my way on my knees up to right to the precipice, the edge of the television, right to the bottom of the television stand. And I was like, there's no way. This isn't happening. This is over. And I was just getting ready for the pain, getting ready to go in the fetal position. And then boom, interception. What happened? Oh my God. And I remember that moment. I was like on my knees feeling joy. That's a cool thing. It's a cool thing to feel that. And so I was getting ready for the Patriots Super Bowl, and my daughter's like, there's something wrong with our rabbit. And I went downstairs, and the rabbit was like sprawled out and was cold. The ears were cold. So I felt the ears were cold. And I was like, God damn it. And I was like, God, I don't know what to do. Well, I know what to do, but I don't. And I was telling them, I was like, what do you want me to do? And they were like, we got to take him to the vet. And I was like, no, please. It's a rabbit. Like when I was a kid and we had rabbits that got sick or rabbits that died, it wasn't a big deal. We just buried the rabbit and we moved on. And then there's hundreds of rabbits to come. You can always find people with rabbits coming out of their, and no, when you live on a farm, it's not the same thing, man. When you live in the suburbs, a pet is a big deal. Okay. And so it's a totally different context. And I was like, we could just let nature play its course here and watch the Super Bowl. But no, like my daughter, like her face, she was clearly very upset. And this is what happens. You see the face of the daughter. And you're like, I guess I have to go to some after hours special animal thing. God damn it. Fuck. Shit. So, and then it started snowing and it was a blizzard and there was no one on the road and there's no other cars on the road and I'm driving with this rabbit trying to put my hand on it, trying to keep it warm, driving for like half an hour on these treacherous roads. And then, of course, what happened? Later that night, the rabbit died. And, of course, and we spent whatever we spent, at least $500, for what? So I could miss the Super Bowl and almost kill myself driving off an icy road? Pets, man. Pets. But at the same time, I got to tell you, in the moment, I was like, man, I wish we could save this thing. I really hope he makes it. So I, as much as I was like, hey, I'm doing this for other people, in the end, I was like, yeah, I think it would be nice if it lived. And of course not. They're so fragile. If things go wrong, it's over. So I'm really, Jason's very close to this rabbit. Jason's, he's very good with animals. He has birds and he's, it's kind of like an Ace Ventura situation with Jason. So I'm really hoping that the rabbit's okay. I don't know what's going to happen, but we're very hopeful. pray for a miracle, pray for Jason, that things work out. And I don't know, do we need any, what kind of miracles are we looking for on Sunday? We're looking for some miracles on Sunday. We're looking for, well, hey, I saw this. We do these must-starts every week. And Dan Williamson, one of the best fantasy gamers in the world, his must-start this week was none other than, oh, baby, my other stack, my other big stack of the week, Jameis Winston with Cedric Tillman. But he was like, Jameis eats the W in New Orleans. And I was like, yes. So that was that. That ended up being one where I was like, okay, I think we can take just a straight up stack advice. Like, this is the best strategy. You should play Jameis Winston with Cedric Tillman this week. Obviously, right? It's like stating the obvious, just very basic. Here's why stacking matters. Here's what correlation means. A pass to Cedric Tillman for a touchdown is 10 points. That's what you want. But then I was like, I think we can hot takerize this. I was like, well, I think I could repurpose this for bold predictions, because I was telling Theo, I was like, this was a very tight show. This bold prediction show that we posted on YouTube, super tight and good, I think. And I was like, if the people only knew how little preparation goes into these things and how much winging it happens behind the scenes, because I have a lot of responsibilities here and I can't do hours and hours and hours of research. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Oh, I think I said, and it's like, I have a real cold streak going with these starter sit decisions. And I believe I said start Austin Eckler, which he had 16 points. Thank God. Oh, my God. I'm off the schneid. I said benchmark Andrews last week. Oh, I'm back. Thank God. Oh, God. Oh, I was worried there. I had like 2 duds in a row. So I'm back. We're back. Barkley again. Oh, my God, Barkley. Yes, Barkley. Yes. So it's interesting on Fast Draft, the 2 top best ball contest teams, the big best ball contest, the Flex 4. It's this total heavyweight bout right now between Alex Dunlap and Chamoinks. I don't know if you all have been following this on Fast Draft in the live results section, but you can monitor this. It's 1495 to 1483. And then, Bordeaux Joe, whoever these other people are, they're below, right? But they're 50 points below. But there's this heavyweight fight between the 2 top teams in Flex 4, and the winner gets $10,000. So that's great. And the second place gets $4,000. Lot of money at stake there. A big difference. So Chamoinks had Derrick Henry in the second captain's chair, which is 1.75x. Alex Dunlap has Barkley in the second captain's chair, which is 1.75x, and Henry in the third captain's chair, whereas Chamoinks has Henry in the second captain's chair, and again, Barkley in the third captain's chair. So it's really going to come down to, between these two, what it's going to come down to is, number one, Alex has an extra player because Chamoinks lost Godwin. So if Mixon ever enters his lineup, that's an advantage. And then also, if Barkley each and every week on average is outscoring Derrick Henry, that's how the way Alex loses this is if moving forward, Henry regularly outscores Barkley. That's the way that Chamoinks can come back in this. It's unlikely, especially with Barkley now going off for another 33 fantasy points. I mean, we talked about it with Sigmund Bloom. The NFL, man, like, they jumped the shark. They always do this. They overdo it, man. They overdo it with the spread offense. They overdo it with everything. It's like, yes, NFL, you shouldn't be overspending on running back, and you shouldn't be spending a top 5 draft capital pick on Saquon Barkley. But that doesn't mean he's worthless. That doesn't mean you don't even try to sign Derrick Henry. If a Henry and a Barkley come onto the market, which is very rare, and they're difference-making players, even if they're running backs, you do want to try to acquire them. Jerry, what are you doing, man? Jerry Jones, just always on the wrong, he tries to, I think, do the right thing, and some of these teams and people, you can see them, they're like, we're going to try to embrace analytics. We're going to try to embrace whatever the millennials are doing. And it's like, yeah, you're a little late or you're a little too extreme. Like you can just be influenced by the new paradigm. You don't have to be number one. You don't have to take it to the furthest extent where we're just going to roll with Zeke Elliott. Because there were a bunch of running backs you could have drafted, like Tyrone Tracy. If you're not going to poach Barkley from the Giants, at least draft Tyrone Tracy. But no, you don't. It's like, man, we said running back doesn't matter, but it was like, it's not literally, it's a figurative position to try to correct for this phenomenon that running backs are being overvalued. It's not that they they don't literally have no value. Come on, man. Jeez. I mean, I think at this point, we have to all be Cowboys fans. We've relished enough. Isn't it enough? Hasn't there been enough punishment? I think we all need to just, out of sheer pity and empathy, start to root for the Cowboys. Please, just do something, Cowboys. Please, just help. I mean, there's so many people in pain over this Cowboys situation. I don't want to I can't take it anymore. He's had enough. They've had enough. Terry McLaurin, though. I'm feeling some pain on Terry McLaurin, too, man. Oof. T-Mac. Yikes. Scary Terry. Ouch. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. They decided to bracket him and said this is who we're taking away, and it worked. It worked. That's what I would do if it were me and I'm facing Brian Robinson and Zach Ertz. What are you going to do? You're going to make him throw to John Bates and Olamide Zaccheaus. I would never let Terry McLaurin go off. If you're a defensive coordinator, that kind of makes sense. I mean, you keep riding Terry, and he's going to have a spike week. Terry McLaurin's going to have a spike week, a massive spike week. It's coming. But he's also a receiver, and sometimes receivers, they just put up these 2-target games. It happens. It happens to all these receivers, top receivers. It happens. It's just football. It is football. Oh, God. I have so much Terry McLaurin. Do you remember this? That it was so obvious he was the only option that they had, and his ADP was unaffected, and it was so obvious that Jaden Daniels was underrated in fantasy, and yet that stack was just the easiest thing to do ever. It's like, I could draft Deontay Johnson, or I could draft this guy. There were a lot of great choices, though. Chris Godwin, similar ADP. Zay Flowers, similar ADP. Ooh, so good. So fertile. Such fertile ground. I can't believe that Robust RB is going to work. Robust RB is absolutely going to work this year. I mean, you could have started with, Jamar Chase or Jefferson, St. Brown, and then drafted running back. That would have been, that's pretty cool. That would have been a pretty cool strategy. You got Henry and anybody. Robust RB worked this year. Maybe, I didn't love, you could just go Bijan Henry. Bijan Henry, I bet you there's a lot. Let me know in the chat, is anyone going to win their fantasy league? Are they in first place drafting Bijan and Henry in a PPR league. I get in half PPR standard. That's not a big deal. Okay. Those guys, they just outscore receivers. But in PPR, it's interesting if you did that. I wasn't doing it, and I will not do it. And these running backs take too many touches in a sport where too many people get injured. But it worked. It certainly worked. It really did work. It was cool. Yeah, every running back draft strategy worked this year. Pretty cool. Pretty cool to see. We're streaming, just so everybody knows, we're streaming Dawson Knox this week. I see MV Prof in here. Yes. Please don't forget this. Please don't. I just picked him up. I just picked up Dawson Knox in a couple leagues where I need tight end help. You got to get Dawson Knox involved. Also, the law of the conservation of targets. We don't know if Amari Cooper is going to play. He probably will. I said that last week. I said that last week about Brian Robinson. But you get why. Like with the Thursday night game coming up, you get why they held Robinson out another game. I thought Nico Collins was going to play. Right? They're killing me with these. We just got to. We can't be so sure about who's playing. Even the reports have been wrong. Right? Even the early reports have been wrong. I don't know if Schefter has been wrong. But is Schefter wrong? Let me know in the chat again here. Has Schefter been wrong this year? I think others, but not Schefter. Not Schefter. So yes, Jamie, thank you for reminding everyone to hit the like button, subscribe to the show. This is it. I mean, I'm doing 5 more minutes. I have to go. I have some very important business meetings. Seriously. This was fun. Like we had we had a good time. If you played Zach Ertz, you're very happy, right? Zach Ertz was a fun little streamer this week. Again, makes sense. It makes sense. I almost said bench Goddard. I was between bench Goddard or start Eckler this week, and then eventually I came down to benching or starting Eckler, and then I got bailed out by all these catches. I mean, thank God. Thank God. The guy only had 2 carries. But he's been more efficient this year than Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson's, still think he's a sell. Still think he's a sell. And then looking at more stacks for this week. What are there? Some more stacks I know. Oh. Essentially, what I'm going to do, and this is probably a fish move. Let me know if this is a nitty move. You let me know. Last week, Ravens-Bengals was so epic and preposterous and amazing that I can't help but want to play Wilson and Pickens, and then also Herbert and McConkey. Because I'm just going back and looking at all those points that were scored last week because they were also scored on Thursday Night Football. I really think this is a McConkey week in a big, big way. Big. I think McConkey's fantastic. And because he's just the pass volume isn't there week in, week out, he's just not that consistent. But this would be the week to play him, right? You have these receivers. Sometimes you play them, sometimes you don't, based on matchups. This is the matchup. The game total. How is the game total only 48? This tells me the bookmakers think that the Chargers defense is actually going to throttle the Bengals offense. Really? I don't know. Don't know. Oh, Drake May and Demario Douglas. Oh, playing some Demario Douglas this week. It's still the Rams. I know they look really good. The problem is with these island games, you're like, oh my God, the Rams defense looks so good at Monday Night Football. But if you look at the overall numbers this year, I know they're getting better, but I still lean on the overall numbers. Rams allow a lot of fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Going to stick with that. Like the home game and Drake May, finally, with a matchup that he can handle, he can exploit. Demario Douglas is an explosive slot receiver. That's what I'm going with. I'm doing it. We're doing it. And what happens with Anthony Richardson? I mean, that's the final question. they set this guy up for failure, okay? They could have played him last week. They should have played him against the Bills. Could have won, right? Then they decide they're going to play him against the Jets defense at the Jets. Why? You can't do this to this guy. This guy is not like the whimsical, desperate moves that don't have any care for the actual players. Like, these are coaches, and their job is to do what's in the best interest of the team and the players. If starting Joe Flacco was the right move against Buffalo, then starting Joe Flacco would be the right move this week, right? If you wanted a nice, situation for Anthony Richardson to get right, a home game against Buffalo is much better than going to MetLife. Terrible situation. So I don't know. It's almost like they're trying to ruin this guy. Like they're actively trying to ruin him. Because who do the Colts play week 12? So if we go to week 12, they're at home for the Lions. What are you doing, man? If things don't go well, you can always pull Flacco against the Jets. If Flacco gets hurt or Flacco's really struggling, then you can say, hey, no expectations, Anthony. Go in there and just try to make some plays and let's see what happens. I get that. That would make sense if that happened. Like, hey, listen, Flacco's not working out, but we committed to Flacco. But this yo-yoing of the whole team, because they're 4-6 and they're in desperation mode, they're all playing for their jobs, is so embarrassing and transparent and wrong. And so it's just, it's indefensible. It's absolutely indefensible. You either play him against Buffalo or you wait and play him the following week. You don't start him this week. It's so stupid and egregious. But it's not a conspiracy to ruin him. It's just incompetence. This is something I've talked about before. In many walks of life, around the economy and society, things look conspiratorial. Things don't make sense. This is not adding up. This looks like a simulation. This looks like a setup. And actually, if we did have full God information about everything that was happening, like we could read everyone's thoughts and we knew all the communications between all the parties, it would be heartbreaking to see how just dumb everybody is and how lazy. It's usually apathy and incompetence. And that's what's happening. They're not trying to ruin this guy. They're just going to do it by accident because they are selfish idiots. That's typically what happens. And, Clark Kent's in here saying GM Ballard needs to go. GM Ballard he drafted him. You're partly responsible for this guy's career and his value, because part of it is retaining his value for a future trade of some kind. Remember, the Rams got something from Jared Goff. They did actually get Matthew Stafford. So you can trade a top 5 pick and get something back. And I know that Jim Irsay's fingerprints are all over this. Okay. Well, then you go into Jim Irsay's office and you say, I'm out. Right? You can't allow the equity holder to come in and start making decisions. Right? It's just like if you're a music producer. You can't allow the drummer to come in and say, I'm going to turn up the levels on the drum and ruin the song. Fuck, get out of the studio. Get out of here. It doesn't matter. I wrote the song. The bassist wrote the song. I want to turn up the bass line. No, this is my job, and I'll walk. You can get another music producer. I'm not doing this shit. I'm not mixing this shit if you guys are going to try to come in here and fuck the levels all up. And then I gotta try to, I can't even remember what we had before. So you can't allow that. You just have to stand up and say, no, I'm not going to be your puppet. Right? Just say no to being a puppet. That's what I would ask. So that's it. That's all I've got. Jason, please come back with a healthy rabbit, we hope. And enjoy the games this Sunday, everybody. Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.